So my wife went to the Beyonce concert here in Atlanta this past week, and she came home basically floating on air and proclaiming Beyonce to be the greatest, possibly even the biggest black pop star since Michael Jackson, definitely the biggest black pop star right now, if not the biggest pop star, period. To her infinite shame, my wife is not even that big a Beyonce fan, but she was converted to the Church of Beyonce after seeing Miss Knowles in all her glory this weekend. And every piece of media I've seen explains why she enjoyed herself so much. Like if you go to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and search Beyonce concert, you'll see the sheer feminine and very queer joy on display from all the concert goers. And I love it for y'all, all of y'all. The black women, the femmes, the girls, the girls. Is this okay? Am I gonna get canceled for that? And even the handful of cis men that invaded that queer femme space, hopefully you were on your best behavior. However, when my wife woke up the next morning, she was shocked to find out that she had been victimized during the concert. She realized that she was 7 pounds lighter, but she hadn't done any exercise. And then you realize that 7 pounds is the exact weight of a soul. The only answer, according to Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter posts about Beyonce, is that her soul had been sacrificed by Beyonce to the devil in an open ritual so that Beyonce can become more famous or something. I honestly can't ever figure out exactly what the motive is for these things. That's right, for those who are unaware, Beyonce is Black America's equivalent to Marilyn Manson, Glenn Danzig, or Alice Cooper. And when you search TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and especially Facebook for Beyonce, you'll find no shortage of black people, and unfortunately mostly black women, proclaiming to see through the designs of Satan via 60-second camera phone footage that says it has proof that Beyonce is shape-shifting on stage and going into trances. This, of course, all a part of her now 10-year plus long plan to do something for Satan. Again, I'm not quite sure what that something is, to be rich and famous, even though she's been rich and famous for like 25 years. Maybe it's to win more souls for Satan, which doesn't sound all that biblical to me. Some people say it's to join the Illuminati, which, okay, I guess that has some plausibility. All jokes aside, I've always been fascinated with this persistent set of rumors and criticisms of Beyonce in the black community because I've always found weird things fascinating, but also because this particular urban legend exposes a lot about black conservatism, black religiosity, anti-blackness, and kind of like a limitation on black political thought as a whole. So first, a little history. I was there when the whole Beyonce's an Illuminati, black Illuminati thing started some years back in the late 2000s. There was a singer, I don't remember her name, but there was like this young pop singer, starlet type that never really got a full shot in the industry, never got a chance to really shine. And she wrote this supposed tell-all blog about how the reason why she didn't ever make it is because everyone in the industry was worshiping the devil and you had to sell your soul to the devil to be famous. And she was never given a chance because she wouldn't play the game with them. And some of y'all probably remember, I don't remember this girl's name. Go ahead, put in the comments if you remember, if you were there. But she's not that important. And although I do want to say, like, one thing about this particular conspiracy theory is that it kind of conflates the very exploitative nature of the entertainment business to actual demons and devils, which is not true. It is true that people, especially young women in the entertainment industry, are often exploited and coerced into sexual acts and all kinds of fucked up stuff. But that's just like normal human shittiness, not like this is all for Satan's army. But we're already getting off topic. And she sprung on this modern era of insert celebrity here is an Illuminati. If you know anything about conspiracy theories and mortal panics, then you realize it kind of makes sense that this occurred at a time where the visibility of black art and black culture rose to brand new heights in the near decade-long Obama block party era of the late 2000s and early 2010s. This is light work, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but suffice to say that superstition and fear of the new and unknown has always been a part of world cultures pretty much forever. The black rock and roll stars of the 50s and 60s constantly got accused of being devil worshippers and trying to employ the youth into Satan's army. By the 70s up to the 90s, the focus switched to white rockers, as everyone from the clean-cut, really nice-sounding Beatles to the openly satanic Marilyn Manson was accused of trying to implant demons into America's youth. There were lots of albums played backwards, tons of church meetings, and a few congressional hearings about rock and roll and its negative influence. However, in the late 2000s, this phenomenon seemed to spread like wildfire over black pop culture in a way that I think was a little different. I can't fully explain it for time, but understand that when Obama got in office, it was a cultural reset for black art and media. Think of the way black folks have been acting up for the Alabama Tea Party just the last couple of weeks, but turn that up to 1,000. So black art and music and TV and movies had a renaissance, not just among us, but everywhere, all over the world, really, meaning that there were new heights of success and visibility, and the way that black felt for that moment was really different than how it felt up until that moment, and to an extent, but lesser extent, how it feels now. And I think this was a bit shocking to a lot of black people who, for reasons I'll get to later, are uncomfortable with the idea that black was suddenly not just being seen as socially acceptable, but commodifiable and worthy of celebration. And then all of a sudden it became normalized to believe that almost every black celebrity, any black person that's ever been successful in Hollywood or music or whatever, whether they're a rapper, singer, actor, politician, was secretly in the Illuminati or gay or devil worshiper, and most likely all three. There's probably still a ton of these conspiracy theory videos up on YouTube, and I swear according to many of them, there's basically no black celebrity that exists or has existed that hasn't also been a gay devil worshiper who sacrificed someone to be famous.
50 Cent is exposing Jay-Z and Beyonce for allegedly doing ritual sacrifices. And it looks like 50 is saying J and B will do literally anything to stay on top.
At that time, the Illuminati was why everything in black pop culture happened. It's why Aaliyah died. It's why R. Kelly got caught. It's why Biggie got shot. It's why Drake. It was black QAnon, I shit you not. It got to the point where within a few years, you start to see rappers and singers and other clout chasers purposefully evoking the imagery and aesthetics of the Illuminati and devil worship and whatever else just to get outrage and free publicity. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into the specifics of these conspiracies and why all of them are stupid and wrong, because if you know anything about people who are hardcore into nonsensical conspiracy theories, then you know you can never really disprove them in their minds. They will always find a way to take whatever proof you present and reformulate it back into a different version of the same theory. There's also the fact that there are and have been real conspiracies by American social institutions that harm black people. COINTELPRO was a thing, the Tuskegee experiments were a thing, etc. Also, one of the most prominent risk factors for a person getting into ridiculous conspiracy theories is social dysfunction and alienation, i.e., a lot of things black people deal with. When you suffer in a world where nothing makes sense, you are more likely to buy into grand and bizarre explanations about where that suffering stems from. So I'm trying to be empathetic here, even though this shit is really fucking stupid. Like I said, every black famous person has been the target of these rumors at one point over the last 15 or so years, but nobody has constantly had to deal with them as long as Beyonce has. So much so that she actually even addressed them in the first lines of her first single for her album Lemonade a few years back.
Y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess.
Why is this? What is it about Beyonce in particular that makes this rumor stick to her more than anyone else? The top and easiest one to point out to me is misogyny/misogynoir. The fact is that Beyonce is an incredibly powerful, very talented, and highly visible black woman, and in many ways, all of those things are transgressive. She talks about sex openly, and while she's no sexy red, she's not afraid to put a little raunch on record. Even though Beyonce is married and a mother, allegedly, she very much doesn't embody the image that is expected for that role from a conservative standpoint. All of this, of course, wouldn't be much of an issue if Beyonce were a man, though. Some of the same people calling Beyonce a devil worshiper are asking people to pray for and forgive R. Kelly. Our media and black culture as a whole tends to hyper-focus on black women when they behave inappropriately. But I want to be clear here. In this case, so much of this comes from other black women. When you look through the folks with the strongest hate for Beyonce, it's other black women. Often black women closely aligned to quasi-fundamentalist and out there church ideologies. For whatever reason, black men have never taken issue with Beyonce, as far as I can tell. Most I think is because Beyonce's brand of feminism is a bit toothless, so it just doesn't raise anybody's ire. But she's still too much for a sect of hyper-Christian black women, and this is an example of how patriarchy is genderless. The women who constantly attack Beyonce are practicing misogynoir in the name of affirming a specific and appropriate type of black femininity that Beyonce doesn't always engage in. Anyway, this brings us to the next reason, which is general Black conservatism and goofy religiosity as a whole. So when it comes to Black conservatism, for Beyonce, she's just too out of the norm for them, with her aversion to organized religion, her intentional courting of a queer fan base, her high art and avant-garde aesthetic. I hate to say it like this because there is a classist element to it, but there are like just portions of Black communities that refuse to try things that are new and not like explicitly ordained to do within Black community. You try to force certain people to analyze or expand their perspective. For some of them, it's easier to just say that shit is the devil and write it all off to begin with, than challenge themselves to grow in any form or fashion. Like, we got whole generations of autistic Black kids being abused because their parents would rather pray over them than get an occupational therapist. And I don't want to go too deep into the complex relationship between Black people and the church. Lil Bill has a great video on the topic that you should watch. But I do know toxic church culture when I see it. And this is something that has always surrounded Beyonce. It's essentially a cottage industry of people selling DVDs and their own church sermons and whatever else, and seminars and conferences. And they use revealing the truth about Beyonce to be their big ticket to get people to spend money. It's basically a grift. The last and most insidious and disappointing thing, though, is anti-blackness. And really, if I wanted to, I could map everything else I've said so far onto that because it all connects, but I wanted to touch on this in a specific way. This is where the real ugly, deep roots of Black conservatism actually lie. The gist of it is this: Beyonce is too successful to have gotten where she is based on her talent and work ethic alone. To some Black people, other Black people are just not capable of accessing this level of wealth and notoriety without some nefarious, maybe even supernatural forces allowing it to be so. There are some Black people who have a subliminal inferiority complex in their heads that makes it where any Black person doing good and progressing beyond the ordained position that they see, even in this fucked up system, must have some way done something wicked and devilish and demonic. It's giving a little Uncle Ruckus and a little Stink Meaner at the same time, and it's sad on so many levels. The irony is, if you know me, then you know I do feel like there is some truth to this sentiment. It just doesn't have anything to do with the devil or Satan. When Black people are highly talented or driven, they don't have to sell their soul to the devil. They don't even have to sell out per se. In reality, capitalists and corporations and white interests will come find them. They will want to use that talent and extract value from it for their own needs. They will want to leech off Black art and Black creativity to make sure that said art and creativity won't be able to be used to build up Black people. Extra points if it can be used to marginalize Black people, like the gangster rap era of the 80s and 90s. When you look at some of our most prominent Black celebrity figures, many of them are beneficiaries of shady business deals and business practices, or exploitative contracts, or selling specifically corporate-backed and regressive images of Black people and Black art. There is a reason why Rhapsody dropped a classic album in the same year that Meg Thee Stallion dropped Savage, and nobody remembers Rhapsody's album. And although I love me some Meg, I do feel like there is room for multiple images of Black femininity in hip-hop, but we're not seeing that, and this is a reason why. Beyonce's husband, Jay-Z, was, I'm pretty sure, the first hip-hop billionaire. And one of his biggest steps on that path was to sign on as a fractional owner of the Brooklyn Nets back in the 2010s. The purpose of this deal was to put a popular Black face on the team in order to smooth over the team's movement to Brooklyn, which resulted in massive gentrification of Jay-Z's hometown of Brooklyn and the displacement of thousands of his original residents. Jay talked and was promoted as being the owner, or at least a big player in the ownership team, so it was sold as at least one of our own is going to benefit from the situation. He would even rap about it.
Would've bought the Nets to Brooklyn for free, except I made millions off of you fucking dweeb.
But he only owned a fraction of the team, which he then sold not long after the team moved to Brooklyn. This maneuver helped spur Jay into a different stratosphere of business and helped result in him reaching that billionaire status, but it also cost the original residents of Brooklyn. And this isn't the only move of that sort by him or many of the Black super rich. Similar things happened with Kanye West with Adidas, Killer Mike with Coastal Banking, or Rihanna with LVMH. That's the reality of black commerce and art in a white supremacist capitalist world. If you want to get to a certain level of notoriety and success, you have to work within the right RAND institutions. I'm here presenting you this video on a Google platform. Boots Riley, one of the most radical and subversive filmmakers of the last decade, is distributing his work via Amazon. So there are systems working in the shadows to manipulate and harm black people through our entertainment and art, but it's not demons or Satan, it's capitalism and capitalists. Although if you want to be metaphorical, maybe you can call them demons and Satan. But for whatever reason, that shit I just said is a little too far-fetched. Now I'm talking ridiculous. Niggas will believe that Beyonce can shapeshift before they critique Beyonce being a capitalist who promotes conspicuous consumption. I don't know what we're gonna do, y'all. Now, I have issue with Beyonce's politics, her peers, her hyper-capitalism, her girl boss feminism, but I want to be clear, none of that changed the fact that Renaissance slaps from song 1 to at least song 8. Like, you can play all them joints without skipping. Lemonade is one of the best albums of the 2010s, and Beyonce is clearly a hardworking, gifted, once-in-a-generation performer who takes her art and everything she does about it seriously in a way that should be inspiring to anyone that aspires to do art. Two things can be true at once. And regardless of what you think about Beyonce, she wouldn't be in the position she's in if she wasn't so genuinely good at what she does. And I think some people just can't handle the fact that a black woman is probably the most powerful, famous, and recognizable person in all of black culture. Like, next to Obama, is there anyone more famous and prominent in pop culture that's black compared to Beyonce? I think that's why this keeps happening. All this devil worshiping demon stuff is just, it's fucking stupid. It's crabs in the barrel behavior from bottom of the barrel thinkers and people who need to take screen time breaks and maybe do some reading and meditation. It's low-key homophobic, mid-key misogynistic, and high-key really, really anti-black and stupid. And I almost regret wasting brain cells on it. Get a life, y'all. I'm FD Signifier, and this has been Light Work.